A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast review show. By now, Santa has emptied his big red sack, and I hope that you all got the gifts that you were looking for, because it is the season to be jolly. But after old foe Nathan Jones did Town a favour, could the Terriers then help themselves by beating Burton and the Dark Arts? We'll look back on that game and the Stockport game from Boxing Day, and we'll look ahead to Wigan as well, because my partner in crime, Ian Kilroy Silk, is with me to discuss all things Christmas and all things Town. How are you doing, Killer?
I'm all right, Matt. It's just a shame it's only you and me. Yeah, look at this. Everyone else taking their winter break in Dubai or wherever Cozzy and the like have gone, but we're still here, aren't we, Matt? We're here to rule over the wonderful couple of performances we've had since Christmas.
Yeah, York Cricket Club is where Cozzy is tonight playing darts, but there we go. So, how about you? Good Christmas? Nut roast on Christmas Day, or is that too personal a question?
Oh, man, there's always a nut roast in this house, but it was a vegan special. But oh no, we hosted for everyone. But obviously, we've started our own business, right? So we're used to now catering for quite a lot. So we had, I think, 18 for Christmas Day, which sounds a lot, but it won't. It were all right. It was a nice day. And we've got a couple of turkeys. We've got 3 turkeys that we bought last Christmas in the garden. So obviously, we eat veganly, but my family don't. They normally they're omnis. So they're tucking into the turkey dinner while our turkeys are knocking on the window. It was a nice experience for them all. Something they've said openly they will never forget. So it was a nice one. How was yours?
It's good. Yeah, I went round to my mum's, ate turkey as well. Usually prefer beef these days on Christmas Day. Turkey's kind of like, but good, full of CLA is turkey, Killer. So it's good for the old protein and the fatty acids and what have you. But shall we talk about football? That's what we're here for, isn't it?
Yeah, go on. Let's go.
All right, so we'll start with the good, shall we? Town 1, Stockport. I can't even say the word. Am I saying it right? Stockport? Yeah, I am. Stockport 0. So a good start, really good. Town out of the traps quite quickly. Quite shorn of a few players as well for this one, and it was maybe just a case of trying to get through it as much as anything. But that start was great. Big Nige, great ball to Marshall. Marshall whips it across, maybe a bit overhit, but Brody retrieves it, fires it back towards Danny Ward, but Lewis Bate, the ex-Chesty, steers it into his own net, and we're up and running inside 30 seconds. I mean, it was quite a start, and probably the highlight of the entire game.
It was a cracking start, wasn't it? It's nice for us to get a bit of a break that way. We've had pretty poor run when it comes to getting decisions at home, I think, over the last few years. I don't think that's a conspiracy. I think that's pretty much fact. And to start like that isn't very Town-esque, is it, Matt? We've not been like that for ages. We've been quite, I don't know, we kind of feel our way into games a little bit, and it was just nice to get a good start against a crowd. I actually thought, I don't know what the announcer crowd was going to be, but it looked not particularly rammed at kickoff. I think a few people must have been a bit late to the party, having a big dinner on Christmas Day maybe, or being stuck in H-Town. But it was a cracking start, although I do have a bit of a problem with the kick clash to start off with. Now, I don't know if anyone else struggled with it, but I really, really struggled with the two kits. Obviously, Stockport had the black kind of mark, didn't they, down the shorts? The Town have black socks. So I enjoy going to games, right? More than watching games than on TV. Obviously, the experience is greater, but for watching what's going on in the game itself, where you can watch who's got the ball, and peripherally, you can see, I don't know if I got that quite right, but I don't think I was far off there. You can normally see in the corner of your eye movement of players, but it was quite difficult to work out what was going on. And I don't know if the players found it that way, but I know people mentioned it at home. I just thought, bit of a strange one. I think Stockport's 3 kits are all quite similar to our home shirt, but it's got to be better than that, because I thought I struggled with it. And if it's just me, then I apologise, and I must be just particularly challenged with that. But the start was fantastic. And We've shifted a bit, haven't we, Matt, in the way we play football, in that we do look for that long ball early doors if it's on. And Marshall's the type of striker you want every day of the week chasing it down. He did really, really well. And to be fair to him, at the time, even looking back at the replays, I was quite amazed how he got such a good cross in, because it was quite close to the byline. He only had one go at it, put it straight across to, okay, the cross wasn't fantastic itself, but it's found its way over to Brodie Spencer, who's done what I think not too many people in there on with your shirt colour on, just whack it across and see what happens. And fortunately for Town, it's gone in the corner of the goal. And a game that we expected to be very, very tough, and of course was very, very tough, was turned on its head in a minute, and it changed the dynamics of what we were facing. And it's just such a positive start. And I really think Town fans stepped up after that as well and kind of cheered the lads on for the rest of the game. We couldn't have asked for a better start on that day.
I mean, the kit thing, I saw quite a few people mention the kit thing. I didn't have any issues with it. For me, it looked like blue and white versus a pink and black, almost not electric pink, like Bret Hart back in the 90s or anything. But I was quite fine. But I don't know if it's because I was quite higher up. Someone else messaged me and said they were quite similar and sent me a picture, and I was like, no, not similar for me. But maybe they say males are more colourblind, don't they, than females, and there's all sorts of different strains and strands, don't they? So maybe it's one of those where they appear to certain people who have like a certain level of colour blindness or something. Because I think Kieran Maguire mentions quite a lot on all the time, doesn't he, about kit clashes for people who've got who are colourblind, and how on TV a lot of the kits sort of look the same, and it's not something I've ever had to sort of consider. So maybe it's for certain people who've got some form of that. So it's an interesting one. But yeah, fantastic start for us. And early goals like that, though, Killer, sort of change the complexions of games, don't they? Because Town were ready to come out of the blocks and have a go at Stockport. And I imagine if we hadn't have scored, I think Town would have probably been the team in the ascendancy for the first bit. But because we scored really early, that really sort of affects you mentally, doesn't it? Because you come out, you score the goal, and it's like, all right, what do we do now? And Town aren't that sort of team really who then go, right, we've got one, let's go get another straight away. They kind of not close up, but they just make sure that we hang on to what we've got, and then if we can get another, we'll get another. The more that rather than sort of all out attack. And really what we kind of did was just defend the spaces, and we're happy to do so, and allow Stockport so much possession and territory up to our final third, and then be quite happy with that, weren't we?
Yeah, it just changes everything, doesn't it, getting that early goal, especially like you say, Matt, with the way we play. Town straight away then turned into kind of defending through the middle. So whilst Kane and Kasumu did their usual job in there, they stopped all the passing lanes, but the pressing up top wasn't particularly forced at that point. Town, we spoke about it in the driving before, that we often go to a man-for-man system in the defensive line. And what that means is you're backing your centre-backs to be able to attackers one-on-one, right? You're expecting them to win those individual battles. But if you go 1-0 up after a minute at home against a team that are on one position below you in the league, it allows you to have an extra, just to hold somebody back. And that's kind of what we did. So we always had a spare, often under Michael Duff recently. But we did so, and it just meant Stockport really struggled to, even from a minute in, Matt, they didn't really challenge it or really break us down at all very much. There was the odd attempt forward quickly in transition, but the way Town played, it's just that bend, don't break defence where, okay, we're not going to win the ball high and turn and counter-attack quick and get a second maybe, or it's going to be quite challenging to do so. But what it means is that Stockport can't do the same either. If we turn the ball over, we still have men back. We like to normally throw forward one of our wide centre-backs, but against Stockport, we didn't need to. Like I mean, it was nice of Town fans to support the team. It wasn't like we were getting upset or frustrated with that defensive approach, but everyone's kind of understood what the task was and how we had to go about doing it. And to be honest, Matt, I thought Town controlled it pretty well because of it. But Stockport just, they were tasked, weren't they, to try and break us down, and they never looked tooled up enough to do it, even from the first couple of minutes into the game.
No, not really. I think Town were very good at sort of keeping things at arm's length, weren't they? There's a penalty shout, yet another penalty shout for Town, and Town have really not been on the end of correct refereeing decisions lately. This one, I think a lot of people felt this was a penalty. Josh Karoma went down in and out down the left. It's a really good run. and the Stockport defender just kind of leans on him, doesn't he? Uses his arm and pushes him. You see, I'm one of those who thinks that to get a penalty, you kind of have to, penalty is quite serious jeopardy for a foul out wide where there's no shooting opportunity, if you know what I mean. So I'm kind of one of those where I demand a little bit of maiming for my penalties, if you like, because it just feels like sometimes the punishment doesn't fit the crime, if you know what I mean. For like the one Roman Edmonds-Green completely bought against us for Charlton, that was just a complete rubbish decision, I thought. But in the terms of the rules, I guess it's a penalty, isn't it? Although me and Pozza in our WhatsApp group were a little bit like, yeah, but he's kind of, maybe the way he's gone down has put that doubt in the referee's head because he's kind of over-egged it a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. It's another long ball, isn't it, Matt, as well? I think Kane did a nice bit of work and he's hit it straight over the top as quick as he could. Cromer, again, honestly, I know everyone speaks about Louis Barry being unbelievable and other people in the division being so good, obviously Stansfield at Birmingham. Honestly, Josh Cromer, for me, he's as good as anybody in this division in those situations. When it's a one-on, when he gets his man stood up, there's very few people that you'd expect to get anything off Cromer. He always seems to win him. And what Michael Duff's brought into him, Matt, is he can now not only cut it onto his right-hand side and shoot, like you say, curl it into the corner. He's also quite good at going on the outside and crossing it or trying to win penalties, like you mentioned. To me, he's looking for it. But then he's still contact. That's what a striker's supposed to do in that situation nowadays, is that you get your body between the ball and the defender and you slow down and wait for that contact. I really struggle to believe it, that the ref wouldn't give a penalty for that for me. I think we're at home, we're 1-0 up early doors, and it's only 10 minutes in, and that's probably the only mitigating circumstance or mitigating factor for why it wasn't given. But for me, Matt, it's a penalty. We wouldn't have scored it anyway. Come on, our record's absolutely atrocious over the last few penalties.
Not scored since COVID, have we, at home in a penalty? But there you go.
No, we were talking about in the group chat. Was it 2020? Who was it who scored last
February 2020? Carlin Grant against Bristol City. Yeah.
There you go. Well, so we wouldn't have scored it.
Almost 5 years.
So maybe the ref did us a favour there, not giving it. But Matt, it is soft, but it's a penalty, and if it happens the other end, 9 times out of 10, it's given, and we're all complaining about it, saying or accepting it's a penalty and looking at the defender saying, "Why have you made that error?" For me, it's a penalty, Matt, and it should have been given.
You mentioned Louis Barry, and how good was Brodie Spencer on the day? Because Louis Barry's, people going about he's like the best player in the division. He's the top scorer. He had absolutely no space whatsoever to do anything in, because Brodie Spencer ate him alive. Both the same age. Brodie's a full international. Louis Barry could be in future, who knows? But looking at the stats, there's 8. It's 8 wins for Brodie, 3 for Louis Barry. There's on the ground. Brodie's won 6 out of 8 duels against him. He's won 75%. He's dominated Louis Barry. And the only thing Louis Barry really did was he made a pass inside to Bailey in the first half, who's square ball. Helik had a strange 10 minutes, didn't he, Michael Helik, where he hit his own post where he probably hadn't sorted his feet out. And then a couple of minutes later, he just randomly just mishit a pass straight to a Stockport player who went in one-on-one against Chapman and fortunately put it straight at Chapman. But it was a strange 10 minutes. But Brodie Spencer was outstanding, wasn't he, on the day? And even when he moved across to left wing back, he was unbelievable at left wing back, making a lot of lung busting runs up there and the support, and then getting back to defend. He was outstanding on the day. And Louis Barry just couldn't get into the game whatsoever because of how good Brodie Spencer was. And he's carried on that decent form, hasn't he? I mean, he's probably had a little dip against Burton, and we'll come to that game shortly. But up until that Stockport game, he was fantastic. And even in the air as well, you can see he's won most of his aerial duels and everything, won a lot of headers, 14 defensive actions. Outstanding performance from Brodie.
He was fantastic, Matt, and I feel like a bit of an idiot in the summer talking about not sure how Brodie Spencer would fit into this team. And to be fair, Matt, to him, he's one of the best players we have at the moment, be it as a wing back or even as a wide centre back. Yeah, okay, we'll go on to Burton shortly, but over more than just one game, Brodie Spencer's been really good. And if you'd have picked anyone out on that field on what is it? Was it Thursday? I'm trying to work out when Boxing Day was. You'd have had Spencer down as being the guy with the reputation. Him and Karoma, to be fair, but Spencer, like you say, Barry didn't do very much. I do wonder though, Matt, with Barry, if it's more that he knows he's going back in a few days, and obviously he's going to have another move somewhere else, a little bit of a better level, or he's going to try and get in the first team there. But it's he was great. Brody Spencer's been such a like, what's his goal now? Because I know it's not his goal. Is it 3? Would it have been 3 goals in 3 games? Has he got consecutive goals? And is that
Yeah,
what it have been?
yeah, would have been, yeah.
I think. And obviously you can't give it him because there's no way that's going to go anywhere near the goal if it doesn't take the deflection off bait. But it was just. It's nice. It's nice to see. Innit? He's one of our own. I know when you hear him on Radio Leeds afterwards, though, and he's Northern Irish, I kind of forget because obviously you think he's come from. I think he's just come from our academy. He's one of our guys from around here, and he's not. But he's come on leaps and bounds. But he's done this since his debut, and there was a little bit of regression at the beginning of the season, and maybe that was learning this new system and the new role. But one thing Brody Spencer did last year, and when he came back initially from Motherwell, was that he got better game on game, and you could see him learning and adapting and improving. We've got to remember he hasn't played that many first team games, even though he's a full international. But he really is coming on to his own, and he seems to just get better and better. Like you say, Matt, aerially, he wins. Even if he's not the absolute tallest, he rarely loses a ball in the air.
Good leap, yeah.
And that's a real asset for us. But no, it's just really, really nice to see. And he's already, again, one of the first names on the team sheet. And he's played himself back into that, having found himself a little bit on the outskirts not that long ago. And it's just really nice to see.
Absolutely. I say after this, really, I think a lot of people, Cosley in particular, felt this was a bit of a boring game, didn't they? But I enjoyed it. It was a really sort of technical chess match, wasn't it? Where Duff would counteract every sort of move Challoner would make. And one thing I was quite grateful for, I felt Bailey. They started in a 3-4-3, did Stockport, but they moved Bailey to just behind the front two. So Barry kind of stayed left side. And then they just dropped Bailey to behind the 2 strikers. And he caused all sorts of problems in the first sort of half an hour, just popping up in the right spaces because we weren't really prepared for that. And it took David Kasumu a little while to sort of work that out. And I think he just about got the better of him after the half-hour mark. But he was causing all sorts of issues. But without really hurting us in the final third. And apart from the 2 1-on-1, so they had 2 1-on-1 opportunities, didn't they, where Will Collar goes through at the start of the second half, where Herbie Kane kind of gets sucked into the ball, doesn't he, and doesn't go with the man, and poor for the first, or maybe the second, well, for the first time really, because the first 1-on-1 was more Helik's mistake, wasn't it? So that was the only time they really sort of got behind us. But and again, Chapman does well, and there's actually some good defending in there. I think it's Brody as well who kind of cuts off the pass to Louis Barry, so Will Collar's got to go for it. So Town have managed to scramble and recover quite well, and Stockport might have had a better sort of expected goals than Town on the day and more possession, but I think after that point Town were largely comfortable. It was a good game. It was interesting. It was good to watch, how Town negated everything Stockport tried to do, and I think the longer it went on, we were quite comfortable at 1-0, but in that sort of last 20 minutes, it could easily have been 2-0 as what it could have been 1-1, I thought, towards the end. There's the bit where Marshall whips it across and Ladapo's a long stud away from, tapping that one into the net. And, I mean, a draw would have probably been the fairest result, wouldn't it? But at the end of the day, I think Town did quite well at keeping Stockport arm's length. And I thought Stockport were a really good team as well. They're a team I predicted to finish in the top 6 at the start of the season. I think watching them there, I think they've got every chance of in the race in the top 6 as well. I know Louis Barry is going to be hard to replace for them, and he scored again, didn't he, at Rotherham a couple of days later. It was a cracking goal at Rotherham, and his goals are going to be hard to replace as he goes up to the Championship. But I thought they were a good side, me, and I thought it was, at the end of the day, Town maybe weren't at their most fluent best at times, but they just found a way to win, and that's what Town have been really good at recently, is just finding a way to win the game, and that's so important, especially at this period when you're so depleted, the team's tired, and it was a fantastic result at the end of the day, Killer. I thought this was a really, really good result when it could have gone either way, but Town were pretty solid, and Tom Lees came in for a lot of credit as well, didn't he, during that game? I thought he was pretty good as well at the back. It was better than pretty good. He was excellent, wasn't he? His numbers didn't lie either. So it was impressive, mate. I came away sort of bouncing from this game a little bit, and it's just results elsewhere perhaps didn't quite go for us as much as what we'd have liked on the day, but it gives you heart, doesn't it? Because Town then extend that gap between 4th and 5th, and all of a sudden they're looking good, and it was a good day, I guess. Round that up nicely.
Yeah.
TLDR, it was a good day.
It was a great day. It was a great day, Matt. I'll go better than good. They're a team that are going to be with us at the end. Now, I think getting top 2 for Town is going to be a challenge because I think Birmingham are taking number 1. We know that. I think most of us accept that's what's going to happen. And between Wickham and Wrexham, I think they're going to win enough games. I think we're better than Wrexham. Not sure about Wickham yet. We've not seen them. We'll see them shortly. But it's going to be quite a tough ask to get second. So you're looking at either probably playoffs, right? And teams like Stockport are going to be in there without any shadow of a doubt. They are top 6 football team in this division, right? And it was nice to see a few things. One of them being luck going our way, because like you say, about 15 minutes in, Helik puts it onto his own post. And if that goes in instead, and our first one doesn't happen, you're 1-0 down instead of being 1-0 up, or it's 1-0 and it changes the game again. It didn't, it stayed out. Yeah, we should have had a penalty. We discussed already. And then there was that, like you say, Matt, straight after half time, they've broken away. A 3-on-1 it was from Lonvik messing about in the middle, I think. But like you said, Tom Lee's had such a good game in that it was him that was chasing back on the 3-on-1, where I can't remember who it was for. Is it Chalak? I think took it too far wide and gave Chapman quite an easy save for a 1-on-1. Really, that eased it straight out of his body. There should have been no way on earth that we had a chance of saving that. And Stockport made an error there again, and they've been pretty clinical this season when it comes to scoring goals. So for them to miss that, as well as it in the post, it looked favoured us on Boxing Day, but we did take advantage of that and won the game. And we've not done that often, have we, Matt? We've had moments of luck, yet still found a way not to win games. Whereas for me, we got the luck, we controlled it. Like you say, Matt, I don't care what the XG says. At the game, watching the game, it felt like a Town, not a routine win, but a well-worked win where we weren't really challenged as much as I thought we would have been, having gone 1-0 up early doors, Matt. And that's the character. For me, it's not coming back from 2-0 down against Lincoln. No, it's going out ahead against a team that you know are going to cause you problems, managing with it pretty comfortably and coming off with 3 points. And that's what we did. It was quite a professional and mature performance for a team that's still quite embryonic learning this system. We've only been in it for 4 or 5 months. We've got players that are obviously out of contract in the summer. We've got players that have been here through so many different regimes. Some of us don't want him here anymore. And now they're producing things like that. It was such a Christmas present for all of us to see it. It was a really, really good day, Matt.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Yeah, so that's it for the Stockport game. I think at this point, what we'll do is we'll have a shall we have a short break, Killer, and we'll roll in this the sponsor for this week. This episode is sponsored by On Point Framing and Memorabilia. On Point Framing and Memorabilia are the preferred framing partner to Huddersfield Town AFC and the proud supplier of authentic signed town memorabilia. They have a great range of items available on the website opframing.co.uk in the HTFC collection tab. Make sure you check them out. There we go. So thanks to On Point Framing. Let's move on to yesterday. Huddersfield Town 1, Burton 1. So it feels so Huddersfield Town, doesn't it? That we've been given an almighty gift by Charlton early in the day, who beat Wickham 2-1. A win would have clawed the gap back to 2 points to Wickham with that game in hand, which is against them. So we'd have had a chance to go to Wickham in January and be within a win of overtaking them if we'd have done that. The worst side in the league at home come to us, and we've seen this movie before, haven't we? With Huddersfield Town, we're not very good at accepting gifts, even at Christmas. I don't want to be too harsh, but teams that get automatic promotion take advantage of those situations, don't they? They don't throw gifts away. I mean, Town were incredibly tired. I think we have to put that in there, don't we? This is a team that have played a lot of games, a lot of Saturday, Tuesday, or 2 games a week, shall we say, or 3 games a week even, haven't they? There's a lot of injuries in this squad, and it's the same players playing week in, week out, and we're not able to rotate and rest because there's no one to rotate with. But Town were, that first half was incredibly. Burton just sat back in a low block. I thought Burton were rubbish, honestly. I thought they were really poor. I thought they were a bottom of the league team. Town just couldn't get Herbie Kane on the ball in areas, could they, just to hurt Burton either? And they just kind of sat back in a good shape, didn't they? And to be fair, it was Gary Boyer, isn't it, the manager there? He had them in a good shape with a plan, and Town still aren't the best team in this division or the previous division on the ball, are we? We've got Herbie Kane, who's decent on the ball. Maybe this was a game where you're looking at a Miller and Sorensen, who are quite good on the outside, who can create and do things. But we've got Brody and we've got Karoma, who comes in on his right foot, but still created a lot. So maybe this is one where having different options would have yielded a different result. But I mean, it nearly went to plan early on, didn't it? When Danny Ward burst through, and I thought Danny Ward had burst the net. Just comes in and he gets a really good connection on it, hits it down. One of those really difficult volleys to save, where it goes down into the ground and back up. And I'm just sat there waiting for the net to burst and confused when it doesn't. And then the only thing that's burst is poor Danny Ward's knee. And it's just so typically Huddersfield Town, isn't it? Within sort of 5 minutes, we've got an injury again. And Huddersfield Town's injuries this season are the biggest piss take in football, in English football. Honestly, there is absolutely no one, and I don't even need to check this, but there is no one with an injury list or with injury situation like Huddersfield Town's in English football. There cannot be. There just can't be. I mean, I did some totting up earlier, and I tweeted it as well. So Huddersfield Town have had 23 different players miss minutes this season through injury or illness. 23. Some of them have even got the first ever injuries, like Sorensen. He's never been injured before. Comes to Huddersfield Town, he's injured within a few months. 4 times Town have lost a player in the warm up. I mean, 2 of those are Reece Healy, so I'm not sure if that counts. But Lee Nichols and Jonathan Hogg been the others. 4 players in a warm up. That doesn't happen, does it? In half a season. And then we've had to change the team due to 9 times a player's gone off injured in the first half as well. And they're just crazy numbers, those for a team. I sent it to someone I know who works in football as well, and he was absolutely gobsmacked at the numbers of that. He was just like, and there's teams in this division who haven't even played, who have just, several teams who have only played 23 players this season. Never mind, had 23 different ones injured. It's honestly, it's just, and I mean, it probably lends itself to why Town were quite poor in that first half against Burton, and I don't want to make excuses for them too much because the performance wasn't great. I know that, but the performance can come with mitigating circumstances. They've had a tough game against Stockport a couple of days earlier. Nigel Lonvike in that game against Stockport went off with a groin injury, and we were worried that we might be missing, Nigel Lonvike for an extended period of time. But no, he played. He started. He did have a bad first half. Lackadaisical, I think, is the right word, isn't it? On that first goal, he's perhaps not as switched on as maybe he should be. And to be honest, I thought at the first, I mean, Nigel Lonvike tries to play the ball and it hits Beryl, doesn't it? And it lands so perfect for him to run down the wing. He's very lucky at that. And then he plays the ball across, and Charlie Webster just seems to spoon the ball somehow over Jacob Chapman. And from the stand and from the TV gantry, when I've watched it, I've just thought that is the flukiest goal I've seen in a long, long time. But when you actually watch it from behind the goal and the extended highlights, I'm not sure whether Webster was lucky or he channels his inner Zinedine Zidane, and it's actually a really, really good genius finish. Now I've seen it from behind the goal. I'm like, oh, actually, he might have meant that. That actually might be a phenomenal finish. And I might give him the benefit of the doubt actually, because he didn't look particularly shocked when he ran away either. But how it got there was a bit of a bit of luck. But I mean, it's a frustrating start, and as soon as that went in, flashbacks to the 2016-17 season where Burton came and frustrated us for 90 minutes and robbed us at the end, and Dean White had got sent off because of the frustration. And if the Lincoln game was a mirror image from 2003-04, it felt like that Burton game was going to be a mirror image from 2016-17, didn't it, Killer?
Oh, Matt, talk about tale of two halves between 2 games of Stockport and Burton. It was just, I went to H-Town before the game. I absolutely loved it in there, by the way. I think Town have done an amazing job. It were around, I got there at 1 o'clock. Anthony Evans were there. Rambo taking the piss out of his little toe injury. He spoke very well, Evans, from what I could hear. Obviously, it was so busy in there. It's quite difficult to to hear exactly what's being said, but it'll be nice when he's eventually back to play for us. But after a positive Thursday going into Sunday, a nice couple of beers beforehand, I thought, oh, do you know what? We're a proper team now. We're a proper League One team. We've got Burton today, bottom of the league, awful. They're not too bad away from home, actually. They've only I think they've lost half of their away games, which isn't actually too bad if you're looking at the away table. I think the 16th or 17th, which obviously is not great, but it's a lot better than where they are 24th and 24th on home record. So they are a different outfit away from home. But I expected a bit more. But Danny Ward, 34-year-olds, mate, you can't have a go at a cross like that first time on the volley anymore. Honestly, mate, you just can't. And it just, as soon as he did it, it looked like when Spencer's put crossing, or is Spencer again that's put crossing?
I think so.
I don't know. Was it Wiles?
Actually,
It
no.
must have been Spencer.
Yeah.
Was it Wiles? Regardless of whoever it is, though, honestly, it was an absolute peach of a cross. And I'm thinking, Danny Ward, there was no one near him. He could have actually taken it down and probably shot if he'd have wanted to, but he's had a proper swing at it. And if you look at the replay in slow motion, you can see exactly his leg buckle and that he won't want to continue. But it's a really big problem that for Town going forward. Luckily, it's January and it's January in a couple of days and we can bring somebody else back in because Danny Ward playing up front has changed our entire season, hasn't it? Up until now, the run of games that he's had, it's probably the most he's had bar Neil Warnock in charge of Town since he's come back because he did all right under Corbyn initially. But regardless, Danny Ward's so important to the way we play because he's just that presence up front. And as soon as he went off, I think Town as a team kind of dropped a little bit, knowing that Danny Ward wasn't there and knowing that the front two were now going to be Freddie Ladapo, which I will say that everyone cheered him on. So fair play to that. What happened before in the last couple of games was rough, but against Stockport it was good when he came on at the end and we cheered for him for 20 minutes. And then when he came on, everyone were quite positive about him. It didn't last very long, but initially when he came on, everyone were very, very positive, Matt. And like you say, that goal, Lonvik, to me, Matt, he's absolutely made a mess of that. He has hit it forward first time around and it's bounced off, was it Burrell?
Burrell, yeah.
But there's a chance there for Lonvik to foul him. He could have grabbed him and he goes initially to lift his arms and then he refuses, doesn't do it. He decides not to. And now to make it at the top echelons of professional football, you have to take that foul because if he takes that foul and that yellow card, that goal doesn't happen. Regardless of how fortunate that finish was, Lonvik has made an error there. You could tell we were in danger. You have to take the yellow card and you have to learn to take the yellow card. And he's not a young lad, Lonvik, realistically. He's played quite a few games. He should know to take that yellow card because I think Brodie Spencer would have on the other side. He doesn't. He lets play go on. And unfortunately for us, Matt, I am not accepting anything other than that being a ridiculously lucky finish. He didn't mean that. Because if he did, and he'd have missed that, he'd have got the biggest bollocking. He'd have been on every TV show laughing at him for even attempting that instead of trying to smash it into the goal. I cannot accept he designed
honestly,
that.
Look at I thought it were a fluke. Honestly, and then you look at it from behind the goal, and it's like, hang on.
I know, and to be fair to him, like you say, Matt, he's run off. He turns to the Burton fans and gives them a thumb up or a clap, like he meant every bit of it. I still think he's just a convincing liar because if he's meant that finish, he shouldn't be playing in League One. He shouldn't be playing at League One, but fair play for it because it was an unbelievable finish, albeit so lucky, in my opinion, Matt. But that first half in total, I just thought Town, from the moment Danny Ward went off, which was 1 minute 36 in his injury, we were awful. And that was as bad of a 45 minutes that we've put in all season for me. All things considered, that you're 1-0 down against Burton at home, the bottom of the league. They're not going to press for a second other than in a transition, in a counter-attack press. If everyone goes up forward and they just get the ball and go quick, that's the only way they're going to score, right? So they sat in that deep block, like you say, Mark, they were pretty awful, right? And what Town did in that first 45 minutes, instead of trying to rush them, instead of trying to force the issue, it's like we just thought, we'll be fine. This will come to us in time. We just need to pass the ball about a bit. And all Burton did was like, all right then, boys. Tom Lees, I thought, in that first 45 minutes was the worst player on the pitch. I know you and I disagree on this because obviously Freddie Ladapo
there was one player as the worst
for 43 minutes. No, I thought Tom Lees was worse. I thought Tom Lees affected Town's performance more in that first half because what happened was we'd pass it around at the centre-backs, and to be fair to Lonvik, he'd try and run it forward a little bit. Wouldn't always work out with the final ball because obviously Burton had compacted their defence, so there's not much to hit. But the ball kept working its way out to Tom Lees, and he'd stand still, walk a bit, stand still, walk a bit, stand still, pass it back to Helik. Yes, okay, Kasumu wasn't showing for him. Wiles wasn't showing for him. Kane wasn't showing for him. There weren't many options on. But just that slowing down of football killed any momentum that we had. And it just meant we couldn't unlock Burton at all. It just meant we couldn't really force issues or force good chances in that first half, Matt. I was getting really frustrated watching it. And now it's just a change, isn't it, Matt? Like against Stockport, we cheered everything that happened from the first minute onwards, and by half time against Burton, the game after, fans are booing the club off. They're booing the players off the field because it was such a downturn. But the thing is, in professional football, Matt, you can talk about how poor Burton are, right? But most teams now play with two formations, don't they? They have a formation when they're on the ball, and when they're off the ball, they have a different formation. And most goals are scored.
5-4-1, isn't it?
That's right. And most goals are scored, Matt, aren't they? In a change of possession, when the other team can't get into their defensive formation because players are out of position. That's where most goals score from. So every time Town won the ball back, when Burton are trying to transition back into the defensive deep block after they've gone forward just a little bit, we kept playing it so slow and backwards, and that's what killed us in that first half. We wasted 45 minutes. And Matt, I'm with you. A team going for the top two, don't put 45 minutes in like that. You might have 45 minutes where it doesn't work. You might have a poor 45 minutes because, I know, the passes aren't right or it just doesn't kind of break your way. But the way Town played in that 45 minutes for me was very, very worrying. And it's just, I think, because Danny Ward went off and we just struggled a little bit, maybe without that presence. And hopefully we can sort it out really quickly in January. But it was a worrying 45 minutes. And I think I might be putting more emphasis on it than most then, because I was really, really worried about it. I just thought the old kind of Town were back just for an extended period of time. And to be fair to Duff, he wasn't screaming at players, but then he took Lees off, obviously, at half time. So he obviously wasn't happy with certain aspects that I thought were evident there as well.
I mean, yeah, he took Lees off. And I thought it was interesting to put Brodie as a centre-back, which I thought, Turton came on at right-back. And Turton doesn't offer masses going forward, does he? So, but I got it. Because it was basically to use Brodie in a different way, wasn't it? But I personally would have had Nige in the middle and Brodie Spencer at left back. But I think you mentioned that at half time, didn't you? You go 4-3-3, and he did go 4-3 for the second half, didn't he? He pushed Karoma up high on the left, Marshall on the right, and Freddie was left on too long and played in the middle. And the midfield kind of got more on the ball then, and that's where Herbie Kane was better. In that second half, when he just pulled across to the left a little bit, didn't he? And Lonvite, Karoma, and Kane had that little three-way going, putting bad visions in people's head there. But they had that little thing going, didn't they? And Town looked really threatening down that left-hand side. I just thought that if Brodie, I get why they did it, because Nige is the best ball player from the back, isn't it? And he started the majority of that through some really good threaded passes. To be fair to Nigel Lonvite, he made two glaring errors in the game, and both almost cost us a goal. Burton almost got another, didn't they, when Nige went missing, and they put the ball across, and the guy kind of kicks it against his own leg and it bobbles up. But Chapman does really well, to be fair. But if the guy actually kicks the ball properly, Orsi, who was at Crawley last season, if he makes a connection, he scores. But he kind of bobbles it, doesn't he? And Chapman does really well to get his hand up actually and claw that away. It's a good save. And two good games for Jacob Chapman over Christmas as well, to be fair to him. But point of most things, a lot of great passes into either Kane or Karoma, and that's where most of the things started. And Town played well second half. I know we didn't win the game, so people probably won't like to hear that we played well second half against the team bottom of the league and didn't win the game. I know people probably don't want to hear that, but we did play well that half, and a lot of what we did really well. What really frustrated me was the final ball, but I don't know if it's just being in the stadium and hearing and getting involved, because you get involved, don't you? With everyone's getting frustrated, and it transfers, doesn't it, through everybody. And I was frustrated. Everyone, my little 6-year-old next to me was frustrated, and he doesn't always really care what's going on. He was more frustrated that I took the Nintendo Switch for him and the battery was dead when we got there. But so he had to watch the game. So that didn't go well. But what kind of frustrated was, I felt like Ben Wiles and Karoma wasted so much opportunities to cross. I know they're your two favourite players, aren't they? And I like them both too. But I felt like there was Karoma either held onto it too long, like he did when he put it across for Marshall, who was in the 6-yard box, who wanted it slightly earlier, and then he just whacked one. The next one, he whacked it across 10 feet ahead of Marshall when he was in such a good position. And Wiles put a lot of balls in the box, and he put a great one in first half where Brodie Spencer misses a sitter to equalise in the first half. He should score. Unfortunately, he doesn't. But he's got a couple of goals lately, so we can't hang Brodie out. He's been fantastic lately. But when you look at the stats, Ben Wiles has created 10 chances for Town on the day. And I saw that and I was like, how's that happened? But when you look back, he creates the goal with a stunning cross. That the arc on that cross is phenomenal, by the way, to Helik. It's a great ball. I know he's got a lot of time to do it, but he had a lot of time to make a lot of those crosses, and a lot of them didn't quite happen. I know Radulovic comes on and he misses a couple of chances, half chances. Turton misses a really good chance to get a shot off, doesn't he? Joe Hodge has a couple of chances. Town should win this game. And I'm really caught between being happy we've not lost, which I am to a degree, but I'm still really annoyed we haven't won this game because of the opportunity we had to close the gap. And it really pissed me off when Wrexham scored that last-minute goal. Wrexham are fluking so many wins lately. Honestly, I hope no Wrexham fan watches this, because this would really come back to bite me. I've seen Wrexham several times this season, and I have not been impressed once by them. They just have brilliant team spirit, brilliant organisation, very long ball, very regimented. But I think that team spirit is just carrying them through, and that momentum is carrying them through at the minute. In terms of quality, they're no better than 15, 16 teams in this division. Genuinely, they're not. But they've got one or two who are decent. Elliot Lee's a good player in midfield, etc. But they've got that momentum, and they've got that hunger, that desire, and they're better than anyone else in the league at that. And that's why they're up there at the minute, because they've got that whole momentum, and they've got that togetherness, which you can't buy, even though they've bought a lot of other things. But they've got a brilliant spirit there, and you can't knock that. So that's why. But when you see that they've won and Town have failed to beat the team at the bottom of the league, you can't help but be frustrated. Even though they played well second half, and they did. It's a good goal by Helik, good header. He's had another couple of opportunities as well. I think we probably need to touch upon Professor Snape in the dugout as well, with the dark arts, because I mean, he's waving his wand around to get, but you know, they'd already had the goalkeeper time wasting from the first minute, hadn't they, Burton? The referee was appalling at clamping down on it, appalling. He gave him his token yellow card after about 70 minutes, and then he continued to waste time. And you know, nothing's going to happen. We've seen it with Lee Nichols a million times, haven't we? Even if he wastes time after, he's not going to get 2 yellow cards for wasting time. It just doesn't happen. The feigning injury was off the scale, really, and it was that one where it was a wasted ball in, I think, by Karoma, and the goalkeeper goes up and claims it. There's no one around him, and he goes down holding his face, saying he's been elbowed, and he wasted 4 minutes doing this. And the referee I know he's probably had you can't blatantly cheat or allow teams to blatantly cheat like that. And it was so frustrating that the referee. I don't blame Burton at all. Burton, you know, you've played Killer and you've managed. You push the rules as much as you can. I've seen Huddersfield do this for years, so I can't be a hypocrite and say, "Oh, Burton shouldn't be doing that." Burton should be doing that. Burton are against us, and we've got far better resources, better players. They need to do whatever they can to level that playing field, and that's exactly what they've done. I mean, them holding the ball in the dugout was a bit shit, I thought. You know, where they were holding the ball. Michael Duff went to get it. Michael Duff got sent off. I know Michael Duff's technically not allowed to go into the other the other area, and he got sent off for it. But they shouldn't be holding the ball and stopping the game from going either. That they should have had a guy sent off as well. But I don't blame Burton at all. I blame the referee, because the rules have been brought in to clamp down on this now, and he just clearly didn't do it. And I just felt so frustrated by that and wound up by that as well. But fair play to Burton, because you've got to do that in their position. And I'm not damning them with faint praise or anything, because they've not got the money we have. They've not got the wage budget. They've not got that. They've not got the training ground, etc. They've got to do what they've got to do. And we've got to be better at countering it. So the referee needs to do his bit, obviously, but Town have got to be better. And we wasted so many opportunities. And I've gone off on one a little bit, haven't I? But I think Town have also, for Ward as well, Freddie Ladapo, I don't want to go into it too much, because he's not had the best of times, has he? But I thought that was probably one of the worst individual performances I've seen for a long time. He just didn't know what he was doing in terms of any runs to make. He just didn't get on the ball. He touched the ball 11 times in an hour. It's not enough. Lost 75% of his duels. It was a bad performance. I mean, I hope he does better next time. I don't really want to dwell on that too much, because it doesn't serve any purpose, does it, to pull him out? But Bojan came on. I thought Bojan played well when he came on. I know people won't want to hear that as well, because he's public enemy number 2. after Freddie. But he played well when he came on. His hold-up play was really good. And I think it was because Burton weren't particularly physical at the back. So he didn't have that issue whereby if the opposition are physical at the back, he's really put off, isn't he? And he struggles. Burton weren't. They were just happy to sit off, which allowed him to get into some really good positions. He played the ball wide. And as soon as Bojan came on, the game opened up for us. And he fantastically well. I thought it was really good. He's 89% pass accuracy, 70% duel success, which is a record for Bojan winning duels. 16 touches, and he looked really dangerous, but he should have scored as well. So I can't praise him too much because he should have scored twice. And I think I'm just sounding frustrated by the performance, by everything. And I am, but I also think we've played well second half. It's such a strange position to be in because the first half was really bad, but the second half was good. And I thought we deserved to win the game. We should have won the game. We didn't. Therefore, I'm sulking. That's it. That's me.
He sounds like you're going through. Is it 6 stages of grief? Is that what? Is it 6 stages?
I think I'm still on stage 3, sulking. Yeah,
honestly,
I
you've gone through about 4
yet.
different stages. About 4 different stages there, Matt. I think you went forward and went back a couple. Right, where do I start on that, Matt? With the Freddie Ladapo thing, it was the thing with Freddie Ladapo that I think annoys everybody is that he's a certain type of striker. He's not going to get 1,000 touches.
Sniffer.
He's a sniffer. He's not going to get 1,000 touches in a game. But when a lad as tall as Freddie Ladapo jumps for a header and his body goes up, and when he's about to head it, his head ducks and he avoids it, he actually looks like a hunchback by the time he goes to head the ball. And I've never seen it before. What can you do to that? Like, there's nothing you can say as a pundit or as a fan or as a self-proclaimed expert or a man. There's nothing you can do. If a guy jumps like that and then ducks out of it, he ain't going to listen to you when you tell him not to do it. Fans are going to see it, and they're going to get on his back. Up until yesterday, his recent cameo performances have been all right. He's pressed a little bit, but it was laughable, Matt. It's still not as bad as Tom Lee's for me in that first half. I think he caused more harm to the performance than Freddie Ladapo did because Freddie did nothing. The way Burton played, Matt, the defence dropped off. All we needed was a big guy to come short, to play it around one touch around the corner so we could get in. And that's what happened for when Karoma ran down the wing and Marshall lost his head because Karoma didn't play it in early enough. Right? That's the only thing Freddie Ladapo did positive. He dropped in shallow, turned round, one touch, straight out to Karoma and away. Radulovic came on and did that time after time after time. And it really did, for me, make it Bojan's best performance in a town shirt. Absolutely. And I'm okie-coking with between Ladapo and Radulovic on who I think should be the next man in. I'm back to Bojan Radulovic now.
I've always been Bojan over Freddie.
Yeah, but I tell you, he's still not something to
neither
is it really? No, exactly. Chuck Helik up front or Pearson. I'd rather do that at this point. To be fair, Helik did go up front.
Do you know what? They brought Pearson on. What really pissed me off in that game was they brought Pearson on, which I presume was for set pieces, and they put Helik up front, and then they had 4 corners. They took every fucking corner short and play it to the edge of the box. And I was just like, I think this is where I lost my head a little bit with the delivery. I was just like, what are we doing? We brought Matty Pearson on, put Helik up front. We got Nige, who's okay. Nige almost scored. I don't know how the goalkeeper kept that out, by the way.
Amazing save. It was amazing.
Yeah,
save.
He did well. He did well, to be fair to. I know that time wasting and he annoyed me, but he had a good game, to be fair to him. But we've got Matty Pearson on, who's an absolute menace in the air. And we played it to the edge of the box for David Kasumu to shoot. And I know he's got a couple of goals this season, but it's not his forte, really. And I know sometimes you just have to get it in the mixer, don't you? And that's. And I know we did it a lot during the game. We scored from it, but it was frustrating when we did that, mate. I was just like, at this point, I was just like, what are we doing?
97th minute, last kick of the game. It's gone past 97. We know it's going to be last thing, and Kane plays a short corner to Josh Karoma. That's what happened. After we've sent everybody forward, and we've played a short corner, and now luckily we did manage to get it in, and it was terrible, right? But that should have been going straight. And it's just those stupid decisions kind of just crept back into that game yesterday on Sunday. They were just stupid decisions from the beginning till the end. But like you say, Matt, there was enough chances in that second half to win 3 games. They really were. And if you, like you say, include Brodie Spencer's header in first, we should have won the game. We should have won the game, even though that first 45 was awful. It shows you, though, you can't afford a bad 45 minutes because even when you dominate a second 45 minutes, sometimes there's not enough time to get what you do deserve. And Town thoroughly deserved to win, even though, like you say, or it Webster or Orsi that missed the chance where
Orsi missed it,
where Chapman made Chapman in the end made a okay save, but his presence there has done enough to put Horsey off. But Horsey should have put it back in. It should have been game over at that point, unfortunately for Town. But it wasn't. Chapman kept us in it, and I have to say, Matt, Chapman's distribution on Sunday was unbelievable. It was as good as any Town keeper. It was
coming out into midfield and defence and forming part of the thing. I was really impressed by that. Actually, it was really good.
It's getting harder, Matt, to choose between Lee Nichols and Jacob Chapman when they come back, and I don't.
I'd still choose Lee Nichols.
It's not. Yeah, that's okay, Matt. But I think
although against you can't chop and change your goalkeepers because they get rusty. But against Burton, you would prefer Chapman just because of how good he is with his feet. Against a team in the bottom half at home, you want Jacob Chapman in goal because he's much better with his feet and he's creative with his feet as well. He can actually pass the ball better than a couple of our centre backs. He's
pinging it. He's pinging it 50-60 yard flat. It's like you say, Matt, there's some midfielders that we have that can't do that. Kasuma can't do that. He can't ping a ball around like Chapman can at the back. He just can't. It's not his job. Chapman is really coming on and
play midfield. Just put him in midfield. Just put Nichols in goal and put Chapman in midfield.
Well, nobody else can work in that midfield three if one of them's missing. So maybe it's Chapman's turn next time up. But Matt, second half, like you say, when Lonvik, I don't know if it was the keeper who actually saved it from Lonvik, Matt, or if it was Horsey on the post. They had a striker on the post, and then Helik.
I think it came off the line, didn't it, and then came back again, and the keeper grabbed it. Yeah.
But again, there's so many chances there to win that game, and to get back into it earlier, so you could have won it later on. But it just didn't work for us, Matt. And we talk about why Wrexham score last-minute goals, but look who they've got up front. They've got Paul Mullin and they've got Fletcher, who scored, I think, the winner. Didn't he? Scored the last minute.
Mullin's got like 2 goals all season. He's not really hit.
It's not that though, Matt. It's that when you're whacking all these crosses, honestly, if Wiles played with a striker on who can smash it about a bit in the box, can you imagine how many assists he would have got this season? Because the crosses aren't great, but he's got to win Bojan Radulovic, who, like I say, should have scored, or Fred Ladapo of his crosses. So it's a challenging thing to do. The crosses weren't great yesterday, like you say, Matt. But that aside, I think people get carried away, like you say, Matt, because you're frustrated. At one corner went too far. And generally, Wiles haven't been too bad at corners. But
I think they've been pretty good. I think they've been
but it goes too far. And then everyone's complaining, and then everyone gets frustrated. But that's what happens in this division when you're a club like Town that have just come down. Games like yesterday are kind of poison chalices a little bit in that, like, if you win 1-2-0, nobody walks away cheering. Everyone's kind of like, no, we should do it. It's only Burton. Stockport's a bit different because fans expected them to be tough. So the frustration levels when a team like Burton, and realistically, they are bottom of the league, going to get relegated pretty embarrassingly. We have to do better than what we did in that first 45 minutes. But that frustration level just rises. It's a bit of pill to swallow, Matt, after, like you say, with the hard work against Stockport, taking the 3 points there. You've got on paper the easiest home game you're going to have all season. You've dropped points. You're going for automatic promotion, Town are, according to the owner. We can't afford to not win too many home games. You can't afford to drop points in your own games. You have to take maximum points as often as you can. And yesterday,
got that Northampton game as well, haven't you? And that you've got to beat Northampton and Burton, or at least one of them at home, haven't you? It's just, but we beat Stockport, and it basically means that we have to beat Wrexham, Birmingham, Wickham at home, or a couple of those, don't we, to stand a good chance. Definitely not lose to them. It just ramps up the pressure on that, doesn't it? I guess. Yeah, frustrating, but I mean, we're 13 unbeaten, so we can't be really too negative about things. The players are shattered. We've got to get that point across. You could tell, couldn't you, in the first half? They are shattered. They've got Wigan on Wednesday. Is it Rotherham on the Saturday? Then they've got Wickham and Shrewsbury. They've got they've got a lot of games coming. Thankfully, we've got a new signing as well. So we've brought in Ruben Ruskin, a left wing back from Heracles in the Eredivisie. I'm trying to put together a signed, sealed, and delivered episode on him. I've asked a podcast that covers Heracles to do a few voice notes and things on him. So keep an eye out for that. They're pretty slow on Twitter though, so not quite got a lot back from them yet. But hopefully we'll be able to do something and they'll be able to let us know. I mean, the response online, you usually have have a gander, don't you, for the response from people online, and it was a little bit mixed, wasn't it? I saw someone say it was the worst player in the Eredivisie, and I was like, well, it's still a lot better than League One, so hopefully it's not too bad. But it could have been down to Google Translate. It could have been sarcasm. It's just, you never know, do you, with how it portrays. And a few of them just seem to be more concerned about bringing someone else into play left back than they, as fans are. But no one really seemed that bothered. But it's hard to sort of judge that, isn't it, online? And football fans can be like that a little bit, don't they? You know, the king is dead, long live the king sort of thing, isn't it? Who's next? Never mind him, he's gone now. Who's next? So you're kind of like that. So it was hard to sort of get a feeling for their thoughts on him. So hopefully we'll be able to do that with that podcast that covers Pericles. But it's a position killer we needed, isn't it? Especially with Miller out for 4 months. Karoma's not a wing back, is he? He's decent on the wing out there, but the back side of it is not his forte, shall we say. And it just adds a little bit of balance, doesn't it? And particularly when you're watching Nigel Lonvak thread those passes through and not really be able to cover or go around the outside of Karoma and help out there, that's where, you know, Ruskin comes in, isn't it? And we've seen the videos of his crossing, and he's got 12 assists, hasn't he, in the Eredivisie, which is quite good over 50 games. So you can look at that and you can kind of think Karoma does his dragging, you know, that's where he does that sort of hopping on one leg and drags the ball. You know, Ruskin goes on the outside there, and that just creates a different angle for Karoma to do something. So it's definitely a position that we needed, and it's good to get it early as well, isn't it, Killer? That was the thing, really. You got to give full credit to Town for being on the ball and being able to announce it before January 1st has even come in. And I'm not sure if it's going to be available for Wigan yet, because I think you can only register them on the 1st. So it'll be a very quick fax. They still use faxes, don't they, for sending stuff over? So we'll have to see if he gets the clearance as well. He's got to get GBE clearance as well, hasn't he? So hopefully that comes through. But it looks positive, doesn't it, Killer?
Yeah, it does. Look, I think it says a lot about what the team probably think about Headley and Ruffles on that left-hand side, that they aren't what we're going to be going with at the near future. With again, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Probably Ruskins. Is that what we're going with, Matt? Ruskin. He's not played too many games, you know, in his career. He's only played 107, I think. 107, 130, 15 at left midfield. He's actually played most of his career in a back four at left back, not even as a wing back, Matt. So we spoke about that. We've been looking at him in the summer, and we tried to bring him in then, but both parties went different directions at that point. But I've looked at it again now, so we can't say we've not done the due diligence on him. We've had more than enough time to do so. So Town obviously expected him to be able to come in and do something now, Matt. But as a little trivia, do you remember the last left back we had who played at once upon a time at the same club?
So that guy might cut out.
We had a left back once before who's played it. Is it Hercules?
Jason Davidson.
Jason Davidson, indeed. And he can't be as bad as that, can he? There's no way he can be as bad as that. So we've got to expect something a little bit better than Jesse Davidson. But no, look, it's positive. We need something left hand side. Mikael Miller was so effective for us. We've really missed him on that left hand side. But it's good, like you say, Matt, to get it done. Hopefully, it's the first of a few, because we need, to me, another wing back probably and a couple of options up top. But no, it's really positive to get it done early doors. And he's played any top league in Europe isn't a level to be laughed about, even if it is owned, and we haven't had the best form with the Volker, obviously, and his ability to stay on the field for Town this season. But no, look, it's a great thing to get it done early doors, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. There ain't much you can see of him on YouTube. There's not many videos to see what kind of player he is. So at this point, it's quite speculative from most of us, isn't it, to work out what we're going to get with him. He's not particularly tall, but he's not small. He can create chances, which I'm guessing is from decent crossing. It's just we need to get somebody on the end of it for him to get the assist with us. But no, great start to the transfer window.
Absolutely, and hopefully one or two more to come. We can see where the holes are. Everyone can see where the holes are, can't you? It's up front where we're struggling. And it's not just a case of bringing in any old striker either. I've seen a lot of people kind of just go, oh, if Taylor's not available early in the window, just move on. And it's like it's not that easy. It's January, where people don't particularly want to sell players. And it's also, strikers are just so rare as well, aren't they? It's so difficult to sign strikers. It is genuinely the most difficult position to sign someone in, and the amount of strikers available and the amount of strikers available good enough it gets even lower, doesn't it? I mean, if you just change tact at the last minute, you end up with what we've got now, don't you? And that's what happened with Freddie Ladapo. We brought him in when he wasn't perhaps, particularly fit, as fit as he's been over the last couple of years, and he's struggled for any kind of fluidity, and that's not what you want. And I know Joe Taylor, everyone's talking about Joe Taylor, and he's no doubt our number one target still, but he's barely played 90 minutes himself throughout the course of the season as well, altogether, all in total. So he might take a little while to get going, but from what I saw of him when he was at Lincoln, he'd be certainly worth a wait. If we can get the same levels out of him, that would be a phenomenally good signing for us if we could pull that one off. But even then, with Danny, if Danny Ward's out for a few months as well, then maybe we need someone up there who can physically stretch defenses as well as Joe Taylor. Callum Marshall's had a good little spell, hasn't he? He went off it a little bit, I think, against Burton maybe, and Stockport a little bit. But he was kind of in and out, wasn't he, both games? But that's what you get with young players. So maybe we need someone who's maybe in current form, and someone who, we don't always go out and buy a striker who's in current form and throw him in the team, do we? I think the last time we probably did that was Naki Wells 10 years ago, wasn't it? So it'd be nice if we could do that. I know it's difficult to do that, and the chances of going out and grabbing a Miles Leaburn is slim, because they'll cost like 4 million quid, 4 million quid, won't they, to do something like that? So it is very difficult. And with it being in January, will Charlton, on the sort of outskirts of the playoffs, look at that and go, well, if we let Leaburn go, then we're not going to get in the playoffs this season. Shall we wait till the summer, etc.? So there's so many things, so many balls in the air, so to speak. Not that Town are interested in Miles Leaburn. It's just someone I like, by the way, before anyone tries to put two and two together. Shall we move on to Wigan, Killer? I think so. So we've got Wigan coming up. So we're going to combine the driving, aren't we, here into the main pod. So what should we call this episode? Driving Home for Christmas or something? Because I couldn't get that in before Stockport. That wasn't my thing. And then Town kind of put that on their one of their YouTube things, didn't they? After the Cambridge one, I was like, I've kind of stolen my thunder a little bit there, but he's quite good. He's Raj, to be fair. So Wigan. So we've recently done a driving with Wigan, and we've done the head-to-heads, and we've done the players that play for both clubs, and that was only a couple of weeks ago. That was, what was it, 3rd of December we played for them. So it's it's 3.5 weeks ago. So I thought instead of doing that, I thought we'd look at a couple of facts about Wigan, Killer, itself, rather than the football team, maybe the place itself, seems though we're visiting Wigan. So Wigan folk have been called pie eaters for almost a century. And apparently the story about that is during the general strike of 1926, the Wigan miners were the first to cave in and go back to work, meaning that they had to eat humble pie. So that was one thing I found on the internet. Whether it's true, I'm not sure. Wigan are famed for making pies anyway. And a Wigan pie is a meat and potato pie served in a buttered white roll, or if you're from West Yorkshire, a tea cake. If you're from Leeds and weird, it's a bread cake. No one else calls it bread cake. Stop it, people from Leeds. So a pie sandwich is basically a Wigan pie. I quite like that. Killer. I know you probably don't, meat and potato. You're probably more of a cheese and onion kind of guy. Although cheese, you can't have cheese either, can you? Because you're a vegan. It's just an onion pie for you, isn't it? Or a turnip. Maybe it's a turnip sandwich for you, Killer. But some of the other things as well. Wigan is one of the 4 oldest boroughs in Lancashire, received charter from Henry III in 1246. It's believed to have started life as the Roman garrison town of Coccium. Apparently some of the town's charters are still on display in the Wigan History Shop. And a former Victorian library designed by Alfred Waterhouse is a celebrated architect of Manchester, which is in the Town Hall at Manchester and the Natural History Museum. Famous Wigan food products include Heinz baked beans, Patak's Indian food, Potter's Herbal Remedies, I'm not sure what that is, Uncle Joe's Mint Balls, and Deroma Ice Cream. Other well-known Wigan firms include Gyrobank, The Tote, JJB Sports, US glass fibre manufacturers PPG, and carpet firm Milliken. Wigan is the home of the Northwest Tourist Board and the Tidy Britain Group. It was once the centre of the Lancashire coalfield, where there were 1,000 pit shafts in the 1800s, which seems an incredibly crazy amount, all within 5 miles of the town centre. It's now got no collieries left whatsoever, and the last one was closed in 1992. Wigan was a key battleground during the Civil War in the 17th century, Cromwell's troops apparently used to pass through the town a couple of times, and it stayed loyal to the king and was later rewarded with a ceremonial sword. And that's where the motto, ancient and loyal. Famous music from Wigan, Killer. Can you name the famous band from Wigan?
Oh, not a clue, Matt.
The drugs
Not a
don't
clue.
work. The Verve.
Right.
The Verve are the famous act from Wigan, if you like. The most famous act since George Formby. When I'm cleaning windows. So people remember George Formby from some of the old stuff. So they're all from Wigan. And it's also obviously one of the top sides as well in the glorious game, Killer, of rugby league, where Wigan are pretty much the Manchester United, aren't they, of rugby league, unfortunately, for people who support Huddersfield Giants like me and you. Anyway, Killer, shall we go into more detail with regards to Wigan, and shall we go to the tactics board? What do you reckon?
Do it. Listen. Love it.
Here
Love
we
it,
are.
Matt. Look at us getting 2 games in, a win, a draw, and a drive-in, and Christmas, and New Year's Eve tomorrow. This is,
A turkey
again,
and a nut
another
roast. There we go.
a turkey nut roast, a threesome, and somebody else pulling off later on. I can't remember. I remember Ladapo you were talking about.
And
But
Santa's
it's been a
big
treat
red
for
sack
everybody.
as well. Yeah, it's all gone a bit like that today, hasn't it? Right, so Wigan. So Wigan recently they lost in the last minute to Wrexham, didn't they? Wigan, they're an awkward team, aren't they? We found that out just under a month ago. Like we said, they're very awkward. Keep the ball quite well. Tello Asgard's decent in midfield, isn't he? I think they're slightly better. Speaking to Barry from Progress with Unity, the Wigan podcast, and he's saying they're slightly better away from home because they can just kind of sit back and they don't need to come out as much like they're expected to do at home. But they play that 4-3-3 system, don't they? With where Asgard plays as the more attacking number 8, and they have the number 6 kind of knits everything together, doesn't he? Dale Jennings. It's Dale. Is it Dale? No, it's not Dale Jennings. It's Taylor, isn't it? This striker. He sort of drops really deep, doesn't he? So they create that sort of diamond, don't they? So they have that sort of those diamond shapes right in the middle of the pitch, and then they keep the wingers really high, don't they, to receive the ball out wide, and then everything kind of comes from a foray down the flanks. What have you made of Wigan then since we played them, Killer? How have you sort of looked into them? Because to be honest, when we saw them, they were on a little bit of a cusp of a recovery, weren't they? Or a cusp of a recovery, should we say? And we beat them, and then we expected them though to still sort of go on a little bit and rise through the league, didn't we? But it's not quite happened. They're still sort of 16th, aren't they? And they're still sort of struggling to get as many wins as maybe is what some of the performances maybe have warranted.
The Wigan's problem is getting that balance right again between defence and attack. Before they played us, if you remember, I think they had the second best goals against record in the league, and then since then they've not been great, Matt. You can look back already, 23 games into the season now, I think they are, and they've been between 14th and 20th more or less all season. They win one, they lose one, they draw one, they win one, they lose one, they draw one. They're very much just a League One side in that regard, in that they have limitations. They've found a way to play football where Sean Maloney's got them sorted out in that they're not going to, again, lose every game, but they've got distinctive limitations. They can't score too many goals from the strikers. But like you say, Matt, you look at Tello Asgard, who's too good for Wigan and League One, to be honest. He deserves a chance elsewhere. And I'm sure he'll probably stay through January, but in the summer, I doubt he'll be still at Wigan. But they're up and down, Matt. They concede a few more goals now than they used to do, but they score a few more goals than they used to do. So they kind of haven't quite figured out how to progress. But again, when Barry was on, it was fantastic, if you remember, on the drive-in before.
Top man is
before
Barry.
the week.
Yeah, top man.
He's a top lad. They were talking about their playing budget being between 3 and 4 million, I think, for this season, which is relatively small even for League One. So Wigan are doing relatively okay for the money they've got involved. So they've got nothing to be ashamed of being where they are. They don't have the money really to push on too much, but they make it tough for teams like you say, Matt. And away from home, they can sit a little bit deep. And if you remember last time we played them, it were a 1-0 win, I think, with Turton scoring. He unlocked them in 52nd, 53rd minute. But we played a back four. We had to shift our system, I think, to counter what they were doing, because we struggled a little bit with them, and they made it quite frustrating for us. So since then, they've tried to change, but when they change, they concede goals. So they're just another League One team that we have to find a way to beat. There's not too much to worry about and to change how they attack, to change our defence, but we've got to find a way to beat them. And they'll still be another, especially like you say, Matt, with how tired all our boys are, another tough team for us to break down. But that's what we're going to have to do on Wednesday.
Yeah, so Wigan tend to play, don't they? That like I say, that sort of 4-1-4-1 system, don't they? So it's Tickle, the goalkeeper, who was excellent against us, is still playing in goal at the minute. Civic, the right back, Sessignon, left back, Aimson and Kerr, who played against us as well, are still solid at the back. And it's Smith, isn't it, who knits everything together? He's quite good, the number 6. He's not a bad player at all. Tello Asgard kind of plays the left attacking midfield, doesn't he? And he comes forward so he can shoot onto his using his right foot, etc. And then Adiko's been playing in the other role here on the right side. And then it is Taylor who drops in from the number, like a false 9, doesn't he? So it's pretty much Pep Barcelona 2008, isn't it? How the sort of style of what they try and do. A little bit like David Wagner, a little bit as well. From 2016, in Naki Wells used to drop deep, didn't he? And then Kachunga would push up, and Van La Parra would go wide, and Kachunga would kind of come in, and Smith go on the outside, etc. But so they've got that style, and I think that's probably why I quite liked watching them. Do you know, when they played at our place? I know some people found that boring as well, which is fine, but I think it just gave me a little bit of a flashback to, you know, like a poor man's David Wagner, if you like, Wigan that day.
He causes problems, Matt, as well. Sorry to jump in there, but the way they play, like you say, with those wide wingers, it kept meaning Helik. I can't remember who else played with him at centre back that day. It must have been Lees initially, but they kept drifting into so far into the Wigan half, and their wingers were so high that there were a few problems. We were lucky; we got away with it. They didn't punish us for it, but there is enough there with this Wigan team, or there was last time we played them, like you said, just under 4 weeks ago, that they caused us problems, and there were moments where we were pretty worried. They play a very strange style of football, Matt, but they were quite effective.
Yeah, it's and I wonder how Town will approach this one as well, because for me the more progressive thing to do would be to switch the system in the next game and go man for man with Wigan, because but there is that issue whereby it's a tired looking side as well. You mentioned Anthony Evans earlier, and I think there's rumours he could be back involved on the bench, maybe for Rotherham this weekend potentially, or maybe the game after, because Ben Wiles is looking a little bit jaded, isn't he, at the minute? So he needs to have a rest at some point. I know Evans isn't going to be ready to come straight back in and play 90 minutes, but so for me, I look at the team and you wonder, they're playing that 4-3-3. Do we need that 5 at the back, or would it be easier to just go with a 4? And I'd be tempted, you know, to sort of go with that back, you know, with the back 4, keep the midfield and finish, you know, in sort of, or play how we finished the game against Burton with, you've got a back 4. I mean, Londvik probably plays left back in that, doesn't he? Just so it can tuck around into a 3 in case he wants that extra assurance. So Londvik probably plays that left back role. And then you're probably going to have Helik and either Pearson or Lees. I don't think the performance against Burton was a droppable offence from Lees. You know, he didn't play well, but I don't think it was a droppable game. It was more sort of on the ball where he faltered rather than off it, if you know what I mean, defensively. So you can kind of make an argument for Tom Lees that him being a ball-playing defender isn't his forte. So the sub was made tactically. Brody would be a right back, wouldn't he? And I think that is a must in this system as well, especially if Lomvik's left back, because you need someone at least who can join that attack as well and join forward. The midfield can't change, can it, at the minute? Kasumu and Herbie Kane. Although we should mention Joe Hodge, who came on against Burton. We forgot to do that earlier, didn't we? Joe Hodge did come on, and he kept things simple, and he helped open up the game as well, didn't he, from deep, because he is a better ball player than David Kasumu. You're not going to get the quite the same energy levels, and you're not going to get the amount of ball recoveries that you do with Kasuma with Hodge, but he's a good option in there now, and that can help Herbie Kane and David Kasumu if things aren't quite going to plan in there. Ben Wiles probably plays there as your number 10 or attacking 8, depending what you wanted to call it. And then up front, Karoma's the only real sort of left choice, isn't he? I think Bojan's got to start up front if Danny Ward's injured, and then Callum Marshall comes in from the right-hand side onto his left foot. I think that's the way I would probably go with it. I don't think Duff's probably ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater on the 3-5-2 yet, though. Killer, do you?
No. I think we'll probably start with a 3-5-2, Matt, but with a flexible system, because the lineup we've suggested here can easily become a 3-5-2 with the same personnel. I think that's an option. But for me, Matt, I wouldn't be bringing Bojan in. I thought Hodge was fantastic. And I wonder if you went with a 4-3-3, if you played Wiles as a high and wide guy, or a 4-3-1-2, Wiles a bigger of a 10. And then you've got the extra legs in the middle between Kasumu, Hodge and Kane. And I do wonder if that could be an option for him. Just because of the legs on Hodge, he looked so busy. And maybe it might not be right for Wigan. Maybe that's something we'll look at for Rotherham at the weekend. But that's a way we can bring extra legs into the team. Guys that are fresh, okay, he's coming back from injury, so he's not going to do 90 minutes. But the energy levels there, that extra impetus. Because Matt, as soon as Hodge came on, every time he got the ball, he drove it 30 yards. He didn't have to dribble past anyone. He just went forward, and it just made everything else open up quite a bit. And I do wonder if that's a bit of an ace card we could have on Wednesday. I'd look at that rather than bringing Bojan Radulovic in personally. I don't think he will. I think the team you've suggested is what we'll probably go with.
So
but Hodge was really good.
Yeah. Although who would play left wing back in that thing? Would you play Brody left wing back and Turton right?
Yeah, probably.
And then that means one of Kasumu or Kane has to drop, doesn't it?
Or you're dropping Lomvik out. Or you're dropping Lomvik out. But or you can Spencer on the right hand side, Lomvik on the left. The only thing is, I'd have Pearson over Lees every day of the week. I just don't think Duff likes Pearson as much as most of us do. At the beginning of the season, obviously there was a period of time where Pearson couldn't get a game time for love nor money, and he kind of worked his way back in. But in the last few games, obviously, was he injured or suspended? I can't remember why he got
sent off against Walsall early on, didn't he, and suspended.
That was the issue, and then he kind of forced his way back in afterwards. But he's not been given the nod recently. But I think for me, Lees was droppable on the performance put in against Burton, and I'd be looking at Pearson. Just because I think it's another game where set pieces are going to be the be all and end all a bit here. I think we'll get a few more opportunities from that. And Lees, whilst he seems to get on the end of every cross, he doesn't seem to do too well when it comes to finishing them, whereas Pearson does. Because when Helik did score against Burton, Pearson was also there, and he should have probably put it away before Helik had the chance to head it in. But no, it's nice to get Hodge back in. It's a shame Ward isn't there, because obviously if he was available, he'd have been straight into that starting 9 role. But tired legs, Matt, and I think we've got to find a way to keep something in that team fresh. I don't know how Duff's going to do it, but I do feel like there'll be a bit of a change somewhere. It'll just be interesting to see what he goes with.
We'll come away from the tactics board now, and we'll go back to our ugly mugs on screen if you're watching. Predictions, then, Kill. Let's finish with some predictions, because we've been going for quite a while, and it's Christmas. People don't have enough time to listen to podcasts this long, do they, over Christmas? So give us a prediction. I think Town win this personally. I think they need a response because of the Burton game. I think it's going to be awkward and tough and ugly. Again, I don't think it's going to be like Cambridge. Although against Cambridge, I predicted 1-1. So I think we might win this by a goal, 1-0, 2-1. I fancy a goal for Ben Wiles in this game. I don't know why. I just fancy a goal for Ben Wiles, and maybe a set piece. I was thinking set piece before. It feels like I'm copying you now, but I did feel like there'd be either a first or second phase set piece goal for this one, where Town return the ball. Maybe return the ball back in, and you've got a number who could do that. Helik, Lees, Pearson, Spencer, etc. I just fancy someone to pop up with maybe a first or second phase set play in this one, and maybe a 2-1, 1-0, 2-1. I don't think this is going to be a game where we overrun them unless they're absolutely shattered as well, and because they're playing as the same team sort of week in, week out. So difficult because Town are knackered, aren't they? And like I say, they do need a way to freshen things up. I don't think we're going to see it, but I think we're going to grind out another one here. Or I hope we do anyway, touch wood and all that. What about you, mate?
Yeah, it's tough for Wigan. They've just played Rotherham. They've just played Wrexham. They play us and they play Birmingham. They've got a very, very tough set of fixtures. So I don't think this is going to be anything like a classic. I think we're going to get a draw here, Matt. I can't see us winning this game. I think it's a bit of a reality check again against Burton. Wigan again causes enough problems last time that I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. And I don't know how good we are at scoring too many goals at the moment, especially without Danny Ward playing, because we struggled before he started every game. Not that it's him that's scoring, of course, but I just think he does a lot to help us attack with his running and his effort. I'll go 1-0, Matt, and I'll go with a goal from Helik again. I think Helik's going to get close to double figures once more this season. It's just this time of year, and I know the pitches are still quality, but for whatever reason, it seems to be a lot less fluid goals and a lot more set-piecey kind of goals at this time of year. Maybe it is from those tired legs, like you say, Matt. So I'll go 1-0, Helik. But I think it's going to be a tough day at the office. But again, Matt, like you say, last time we said this, Cambridge got absolutely stuffed by us. Whilst I like to celebrate when you and I are accurate and get it right, and then we did get a few in a row at one point, we got Cambridge miserably wrong. So I hope I get this one wrong too, and it's a comfortable victory. But I think it's going to be a tough day for Town. I'd take a scrappy 1-0 at this point, though, wouldn't you, Matt? I'd take anything. I'd take Fred Ladapo prodding one in the 91st if that's what it takes to break them down.
I love him to score a goal. Yeah.
And when you've got so many fixtures in such a short period of time, in December and January, it's not about how you win. It's just about getting those points on the board. And you look at other things in March, April, when you get to the end of the season and you know how everybody else plays. You've got your own systems in place. You can't bring any new players in. You've got to work with what you've got. This time it is not that. It's just digging out victories wherever you can. That's what's going to happen on Wednesday, but it's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for listening to us two waffle on for an hour and 21 minutes. It's been crazy. If you're watching this on YouTube and you did find any sort of distortion, I know it's a bit late now, but next time maybe listen to it on Spotify, because the recordings are a little bit different, and StreamYard have been a bit rubbish recently, and they've put the prices up, bless them, despite the performance being poor. But yep, so thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back after the games this weekend to discuss them once again.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.